Okay, let's start over here, the new Mishnah on Chesomet Beis. We're talking about still those jobs that you're not permitted to do in Chol HaMoed. We talked about gardening before. We talked about various things. We're going to continue talking. This is the tractate that talks about Chol HaMoed. We have the basic principle. You can't do too much work on Chol HaMoed. And that's what the Chachamim try to avoid a person. So we're going to continue in that vein. Says the Mishnah, Ein choifrim kuchin ukvoris b'moyed. These are different kinds of graves on Chol HaMoed during the intermediate days. We are not allowed to dig these various kinds. Kuchin used to be, as the Gemara will say, was in the ground. They used to dig a cave, and they used to put families next to each other. In other Gemaras, it's not so important over here, but it seems like the Kuchin, they used to have a grave, and they used to put these different graves next to each other. That's in the ground. They also had above ground, like the Marata Machpelah, right? You had the up there. They used to build on a structure, and they used to bury them inside, on top. These are the two types of graves that they used to do. The Kuchin, the Gemara is going to say, is in the ground, and the Kvoros is above ground. So you can't dig them b'moyed during the intermediate day, during the festival. Rashi explains, what does it mean, ein choifrim kuchin ukvoris? Why are you digging them? That is l'tzoydech mesim. That's for the need of burying the dead. Now, we're not talking about that you have somebody today to bury, that you're going to dig a grave for them. These were prepared ahead of time, so when somebody dies, you have a place to bury them. So Rashi says, "Shedarkom lachper kuchim ukvoris." It was their nature to dig these kuchin and these graves, these two kinds of graves, in ground and above ground. Lizamnom, to prepare them, litzoyrech meisim sheyemusu, for the need. People that die, they're going to die. Can't dig them. Not on Chol HaMoed. Why can't you dig them on Chol HaMoed? Says Rashi, the tircha yiseirahu. That is too much trouble. It's a lot of trouble. We don't want you to do all this trouble when it comes to Chol HaMoed. So Chol HaMoed is a time we don't want you to trouble. However, Avol mechanchin es hakuchin b'moed. You can dedicate, you can prepare the kuchim on Yontif. That means mechanchin, as the Gemara will say, means you cut it to size, you widen it, you stretch it, do things in it. You can't go and initially do it, but you could be mechanechit these kuchim de Gemara. Rashi says mechanchin mefarish b'Gemara. The Gemara will explain. Okay, that's as far as burial places, graves is concerned. Further, the Mishnah talks about the people used to wash their clothing either by the river sometimes, but people used to wash, they used to make a hole in the yard, is to collect water over there, and that was used to wash the clothing. So you could make that hole in the ground. That is not considered to be a big job. The oisin nivreches b'moyed. You could make this pool, this nivreches, during the cholamoyed, during the holiday. Nivreches, Teich Rashi, bericha shel koipsin. That's a pool of those who wash. It's a pool, a bericha, a pool of the people who wash. Why could you do it? Why is it okay to do it in the Moyed? V'leis beit tircha kulahai. There's not so much trouble, so that's why you can do it. Okay. Another halacha. We're going back to the dead. Before we talk about the kvaras, we're going back to it. What about you have somebody who died, and you gotta make a coffin for him? So you're allowed to make va'aroin. You could make also a coffin im hameis b'chotzer, together with the deceased, the dead, in the courtyard. If there is a mace lying over there, that he's over there in the chotzer, so everybody can tell, why am I building a box? I'm building a box to put away for the mace. Then you can trouble yourself. Let's do in the Rashi. The mace is right there. He's in the courtyard. Then muter lasois orin. You are permitted to make a coffin. Ulenasir hanesorim mitchila letzoydech ha'orin, and to go ahead and make the planks to begin with. In other words, you don't have ready planks that you just got to put it together. You got to build, you got to make these planks. For the need of the orin. The lasoy make it all. So on Yom Tov, you can go ahead and you can knock the wood out to make planks, and use the planks to make the orin and make it all. But only if the mace is in the courtyard with you, because people see what you're building. Avoloi b'chotzer acheres, but not in another yard. Which means if the mace is in one place and you're building it in a courtyard, you can't go and build it to get all the planks and everything else. Why? They shouldn't say there's some other job. They don't know that there is a mace over there. So it's marisayin. People are going to say, they're not going to know why you're doing it. So therefore, only if the mace is b'chotzer, you can do it.
But the digging you could do even if there's no mace.
Oh, so we'll see. I've said what? This is talking about to go ahead and make even the nesorim, even to make up those planks. If the planks were already there, then even according to the comment, we'll see in a minute, you're still allowed to do so. Let's see, we'll see it again. Rabbi Yehuda Oyser. Rabbi Yehuda prohibits it. Ela im kein yesh imoy nesorim. He doesn't allow to go ahead and make the nesorim, even if you have the mace. It's too much trouble to go ahead and do that. Ela im kein yesh imoy nesorim. If you already have these planks, they're there already. You just got to put it together. That's okay. Let's see what Rashi says. Rabbi Yehuda Oyser, he prohibits lahavi eitzim, to bring the wood, the lasoisum nesorim, and to make them into planks. Let's say the chorin. The Tanakh allowed you even to bring the wood and form them into planks. He doesn't allow you to bring wood, makes the plank. Only if there were already planks from before Yontif, they were ready already. So to put it together, he allows it. But the Tanakama allows it even to go ahead and turn the woods into planks so that you can make the order. Now, what exactly would he hold? But he also says you need the mace b'chotzer. But if the mace is not in the chotzer, would the Tanakama allow? That's what you asked before. Would the Tanakama allow without the mace b'chotzer at least to allow what Rabbi Yehuda allows with the mace b'chotzer to put together the planks? I would think yes, but I don't know for sure. Let's see in the Gemara if the Gemara is going to say that. Okay. So that's the Mishnah. Let's do the Gemara. Frag the Gemara, my kuchin or my kvoris. What is these two things? What is this kuchin and what is the kvoris? Omar Rabbi Yehuda says, Rabbi Yehuda, kuchin is bechafira. Kuchin is digging in the ground. Or kvoris bebinyan, and kvoris is in a structure, in a building. Tanya nami hochi. We also learned so in a brayso. Eluhein kuchin ve'eluhein kvoris. These are called kuchin. These are called kvorin. Which kuchin is bechafira. Kuchin is digging in the ground. Or kvoris bebinyan, and kvoris is in a building. Okay, that's what it is. But the Mishnah says, while you cannot dig those graves, you could dedicate these kuchim. You could. What could you do? Dedicate, I think, in this context means to designate it for a burial place. You could dig and you could just use it for something else. Mechanchim would mean to dedicate it as a burial place. That you can do. You're not digging anew, but you're just dedicating. How do you frag the Gemara Heitzad Mechanchim? So how do you dedicate? Amar Rabbi Yehuda, says Rabbi Yehuda, Shehim hoya aruch mekatzre. If it was long, you shorten it. So that's dedication. You do some work in it. The masnita tono, but in a brayso we learned marich boy umarchiv boy, that you dedicate it by enlarging it, stretching it, making it longer, umarchiv by making it wider. Okay. He talked about shortening it. He talked about in the brayso it says to prolong and to widen. Okay, different things why they do it. Then the Mishnah further said that you make this pool to wash the garments. What is this nivreches? What is this? The Gemara didn't know what this is. Amarav Yudah Zubekia. That's a bekia. No, what's a bekia? A bekia is a nivreches. What does it mean? So it's also a kind of a pool. So the Gemara thinks that the bekia and nivreches is one and the same thing, because he asks him, what is a nivreches? So he tells him a bekia. That means that the bekia is the name, another name for the pool, the nivreches. But the Gemara said, but in the brayso it says two things: hanivreches v'habekia. How could the bekia be nivreches when in another brayso it enumerates two things? It says nivreches and the bekia. The Gemara says this is actually, they're both pools. There's a larger pool and there's a smaller pool. As Rashi explains, in a minute we'll see that they used to have one bigger pool for collecting water, but they didn't wash it directly in that big pool. They had a smaller pool next to it, and they would let the water out into the smaller pool to use that as the place where they would wash it. Amar Abaye, V'itei Rab Kana, and Kana says, Agiho, that's the pool, Ubargia, and a son of the pool, meaning a smaller pool. Let's see what the Rashi explains. What is the giha ubar giha? Sagt Rashi, bricha gedoyla she'oisim bechotzer. They make a big pool in the courtyard. Sheyikonsu boy kol hashofchim. That all of the shofchim go in there. That's a bikia. The bikia is actually the large one, the big one. That big one is called the bikia. The bar giha, the son of the, is bricha ketana. That's a small pool. She'oisin somuch legedola. You make it next to the big one. By the way, the words are big enough for you to see. Legible should make it bigger. You never.
Oh, I can see it.
Huh?
I can see it fine.
Fine, there's no problem. Okay.
Fine.
Because you can easily enlarge it, but okay. Shaisin samuch legedola, a smaller one that you make it closer to the large one. Kidei sheyikonsu hamayim hayotzim min hagedola leketano. It goes in from the big one to the small one. Because that's full, and from there it goes into the smaller one. That's the bargiha, that's the nivreches, and that's, I guess, where you wash the clothing is in the smaller one. Okay. The next thing we had in the Mishnah, that you had the orin im hameis b'chotzer. That you have to have the orin together with the meis b'chotzer. Why? So Rashi explains, v'orim hameis b'chotzer, Koloimar kishemeis b'chotzer, when the mace is in the courtyard, then it's okay. Shapir Domi, it's okay. The mukha milsa, because it's evident the letzoyrech hameis avido, that he's doing it for the mace. He can do the planks. Motzi lemeved orin, he can make an orin ubeoisa chotzer. In that courtyard, he could make the orin at that time. And the Gemara says, Tanina laha. We already learned this in a Braisa. We learned this halacha in a Braisa. The Tonu Rabbana. For we learned in the Braisa. Over there it says, Oisin kol tzorchei hames. On Chol HaMoed, you could do all what we need for the deceased. Goizin loy sairei, you will cut his hair. Umechapsin loy kisusoi, and you can wash his garment. I guess that you need to the shrouds. You need to bury him with it. The oisin loy orein minisorim hamnusorim erev yontiv. Here he says you can make the coffin from planks that have been already planked, made into planks from before Yom Tov. But not to make them on Yom Tov. That seems to go like the second opinion, like Rabbi Yehuda. That we're not allowed to do so, only on Namsurim, Menusorim ha-Menusorim. So he says like this: Yesh imoy. Rashi says nesorim mesukonim erev hamoyed. If he has already prepared, fixed planks from before Yom Tov, and the reason we can't do the Torah Godla Soisim b'Moed, that would be too much trouble to do it on Yom Tov. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel he gives another way of doing it. Af mevin eitzim. You can also go ahead and bring wood. You can go ahead and make them planks in a quiet way within your home so people don't see it. That also seems to fit with the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda, because he doesn't allow to do it in a public place. But here they allow you to do so in a quiet way, which generally, and I got to look this up because in general, there is a rule that we say that anything that you're not allowed to do in public because Maris Ayin, you cannot also do it quietly at home. But maybe because this is such an important mitzvah, so they do allow it, because according to Rav Shimon Gamliel, you can do it in the home. So when the Gemara says Tanina Laha, we learned this, that is talking about the second opinion of Rabbi Yehuda, because according to, unless he's talking about when the mace is not there, but over here, the reasoning is because it's too much trouble to do it. So that wouldn't help. It's not because he's going to be accused. So this seems very clearly like the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda, who prohibits to do it on Yontif. Now, one would ask the question also, so what does one do if he has a mace, somebody to bury, he doesn't have prepared planks? So Rav Shimon Gamliel gives him an idea to do it b'tzina b'tech beisei. What would the other ones say? Maybe they all agree. Maybe that's why they allowed this b'tzina b'tech beisei. I mean, I kind of find it hard to believe, or maybe the halach is keep the deceased till after Yontif, and then you'll make the planks. I mean, that sort of sounds kind of. Got to look this up in the Meforshim, the halacha, but. This is something we need to look. Let's do the next Mishnah.
Well, so the you could do anything.
Right? Well, what?
Didn't the
Here we
Rabbanan...
say Rav Shimon Gamliel says you can do it. You do it b'tzina, but the other rabbis disagree with that. Seems like.
Okay.
And then generally, I'm saying that this whole idea of doing it in a quiet way, normally you wouldn't be allowed to do things that you're not allowed to do publicly. You're not allowed to do it quietly also. Maybe Rav Shimon Gamliel disagrees. Maybe this is because it's an emergency. I'm not sure. Or maybe, maybe people should, maybe through a goy, maybe people should know better that they're not going to be able to do it. They should prepare it properly. Not sure. Okay, let's learn another next Mishnah. It says the Mishnah, can't get married during Chol HaMoed. Ein noisim noshim b'moed. You can't marry marry women during the holidays, during Yontif Chol HaMoed. And this would include loy besulos v'loy almones. Not a besula who's never been married, and not widow that have been married. So why? Because we'll see in the Mishnah, because that's a lot of joy, a new marriage, and we don't want to interfere with the mixture. We'll see. The Gemara will give a few reasons. We don't want to interfere with the mixture with the Simcha of Yontif. One reason, we'll see. Also, Beloy B'Yabmin. Yibum is a Levirate marriage when a brother dies without children, so the brother has to marry the deceased brother's wife. So that's also marriage. We don't do that on Yontif, on Chol HaMoed, on Yontif. Why? That will be a joy for him. So the Gemara, so what is it? Joy seems to be okay. Simcha, Yontif, you're supposed to be Simcha. So why would that be a reason not to? But the Gemara will explain. One of the Gemara's explanation is that the Torah says you should rejoice with the holidays, not with your wife. You're not with your wife. We don't want you to interfere with the joy of the holidays with a marriage. That's one interpretation. We'll wait for the Gemara. However, the Gemara says, Abu Machziru as Guru Shosei. If he wants to bring back his wife that he divorced, such a wedding he can do, even that's not considered to be such a great simcha. That's not such a great simcha. Further, on Chalamoyed, v'oisa isha tachshitaha b'moyed. A woman could make her jewelry, her adornment that she needs to adorn herself. She could make that on the holidays. As which ones? As the Gemara is going to explain. Not everything. These jewelries, these things that the Gemara is going to explain what she can do. Okay, we'll leave that for the Gemara. Rabbi Yehuda says, Loi tosud. The women used to put a cream on their face, or they put pitch or seed. They would put it on their face to remove spots, pimples, whatever. They would put something, but was not comfortable for the. So they should not do that at Chol Hamoed, because this is something which is not fun for her. It's makes her disgusting. But she does that for the results. But we don't want her to do that on Yontif, al Chol Hamoed. Loisos would be seed. With the seed, don't. It's something which degrades her now during the holiday. She toasted the seed that she's going to smear herself with this seed. She's in pain. We don't want you to do it on Chol Hamoed. Now, if you want to fix a rip, so if you're just an ordinary, you're not a professional, that's called a hedyot, then you sew your normal way. Because your work isn't considered to be really work. It's not professional. You're sewing, so you're okay to sew on Chol Hamoed. But v'uman machlif. The uman, the craftsman, will see in the Gemara machlif, he has to change the way he does it, not to do. He changes the stitches every second stitch. He doesn't do it in the professional way. Then in those days, how do they make the beds? They have boards, and they would put ropes. They would string ropes on the two sides, and they used to put the mattress or sleep on those ropes. That was the bottom. That was the box spring. The box spring. So there was two steps. You had to weave strings from the two sides along the length of the bed. And the second step was to pull them and tighten them so it doesn't flow down to the floor. So the first opinion says, as we'll see in the Gemara, that is to put through those ropes from one end to the other. Rabbi Yossi Omer, he says, you stretch them, as the Gemara will explain. Okay, so now we do the Gemara. So the Gemara gives the reason why are we not supposed to get married on Chol Hamoed, because it makes you happy. Frag the Gemara, what do we care? It's a simcha. You're saying that it's a joy for him? So who cares? My hobby. So what is? My hobby, so the Gemara. My hobby, v'chisimcha asura b'yontav. Is simcha prohibited in yontav? You're saying you can't get married because he's going to be happy. Since when is simcha asur in yontav? Amar Rabbi Yehuda Shmuel. So Rabbi Yehuda says the name of Shmuel. V'chein Amar Rabbi Elazar, Amar Rabbi Yishaya. And so said Rabbi Elazar, the name of Rabbi Yishaya. Other people say Amar Rabbi Elazar, Amar Rabbi Chanina. They said the name of Rabbi Chanina. It's so important to get it exactly right. Who said it and whose name? Maybe Gula Loylam, you say the persons. And he gives the reason, simcha b'simcha. We cannot mix joy with joy. Your joy of getting married cannot mix with the simcha of Yontif. Ein marbim simcha besimcha zaktrashi koloimar, to say, but inon the lismach besimchas moed lechudei, we need you to rejoice just in the joy of the holiday. That alone, we don't want you to mix in any other, no other joy. Rabba Barabhuna Amar, Rabba Rabhuna says, for another reason, because we know you're going to neglect the joy of the holiday, and you're going to occupy yourself rejoicing your wife. So therefore, you're going to forget about the holiday. You're going to pay attention only to your joy with your wife. So therefore, we don't do it. So Omerle Abai Rabbi Yosef, Abai says Rabbi Yosef, Hod Rabba Barabhuna. This that Rabba Rabhuna said, the Ravu. This is what the Rav said. What the Rabba Barabhuna said is the same like Rav. The Omar Rav Daniel Bar Katin Omar Rav, because Rav Daniel Bar Katina said the name of Rav. He says, Minayin she'ein noisim noshim b'moyed. Where do we know that you don't marry women in the holidays? It says, Shenemar v'somachta b'chagecha. The pasuk says, rejoice in your holidays. B'chagecha v'loi b'ishtecha. In the holidays, but not with your wife. So, we don't want you to get married on Yom Tov, so not to ignore the Yom Tov. And the Torah says you have to rejoice with the holidays. And not Leishtach. That's the second reason. So we have two reasons now, so far. First reason is because you don't want to mix one simcha with the other one. And the other reason is it's not just mixing two simchas, it's neglecting the simcha of Yom Tov for the simcha of your wife. Ula says another reason. It's a lot of trouble. Making a chasana, making a wedding on Chol HaMoed is a lot of trouble. A lot of trouble. To trouble yourself, to trouble yourself for the need to get married is a lot of trouble. We don't want you to get married on Yom Tov. To trouble yourself on the holiday is usher, even a Chol HaMoed. It's usher, so we don't want you to trouble yourself. We have a fourth reason. Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha Omar. Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha says, "Mipnei bittul pirya v'rivya." You're going to wasting time to be fruitful and multiply, which basically means people are looking when to make a wedding. So people are going to push off the wedding instead of getting married early, and they can have children in the meantime. So they're going to say, oh, Yom Tov is free, nobody's working, it's a good time. Let's push it off for Yom Tov. He said, no, don't push it off for Yom Tov. Go get married so you don't waste period v'riga. Says Rabbi Yitzchak Navchem nebitl period v'riga. So bitl period v'riga. So he says the Ishori Nisuyim b'Yom Tov. If you would allow marriage on Yom Tov, ein adam noise isha kol hashana kula. So all year round, the person will never get married. He won't go marry. Elamamtin adamayit. But he's going to wait till the holidays. Now, I said because people have time off. Rashi says another reason. He's going to say because he has to make already for the Yom Tov a big meal. So should make one meal for the festival and the Yom Tov. He'll do it all together. So he said, no. You're not going to make the marriage. Just get married, have children, and then the Yom Tov you'll make a separate party. Okay. So these are 4 reasons that we had. 1, not to mix the simcha. 1, to be joy with the holiday, not with your wife. The other one is there's too much trouble to make a chasana on Chol HaMoed. And the next one is that you're going to delay your marriage till Chol HaMoed to get 2 for 1, to get the meal of the Yontif together with the meal of your wedding. The Gemara Mesiva, I'll ask you a question. Ask him about Bryce. So the Bryce says, all those that said that you cannot get married in the Yontif, but still, Mutorin Lisa Erev Regel are permissible to marry before the Yontif.